and welcome to another edition of Tuxedo Time, podcast edition, where we wear tuxedos, and it is time. We're not going to talk about the blouse that I'm wearing right now because it's very ugly and embarrassing.
You look like a giant pumpkin.
Yeah, this is an orange shirt.
A miniature pumpkin. Shifty eyes.
Are you calling me fat, Chris?
And the podcast is over. Thanks for tuning in.
Divorce? I'm just kidding. My shirt's really ugly. It's my Halloween shirt, but it was the only shirt that I could find. It says... Nightmare Before Coffee.
And it's bright orange, believe it or not.
Ew. This will not be documented. Nope. This is what we call an illegal tuxedo. Do not. Today we're kind of going to talk a little bit about monetization.
Ooh, money.
Money.
Well, first of all, anybody tuning to this probably sees us on YouTube. Would that be a safe assumption?
I would think so. I don't know why anybody else would click on the title Tuxedo Time without knowing what it is.
Yeah, this is a fairly obscure podcast, probably only for people who tune into our YouTube channel.
Correct.
So they probably know that we have not, until recently, monetized our channel. And for those that don't know much about YouTube, monetization just means making money off of the content we produce.
Correct. And there's a number of reasons why we couldn't do that. But first of all, I do want to say that I'm officially a full-time YouTuber. Yay. I no longer have a part-time job. Fun fact, definitely had a part-time job for the last 2 years since we've been in Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody knows that.
Yeah, probably not. I guess to preface all of this monetization on YouTube, how do you make money from YouTube, we're going to rewind a little bit and spill a little bit of the story, the immigration story of kind of how we got to America and kind of what happened there, why I had to close off all the monetization, why we couldn't make any money from this channel for 2 years.
So rewind to 2016 when we started our YouTube channel and we had less than 1,000 subscribers. We didn't start at zero technically. Well, technically everybody starts at zero, but we repurposed your YouTube channel from college.
We did. I had 300 subscribers and I didn't want to start from scratch, which was a mistake. We should have started from scratch, which is why we have the Roadkill CNA username, channel name, but that's a different time. So we started this YouTube channel and we started with 300 subscribers and we were living in Vancouver.
But at the time we also were doing blog content on Instagram, and we were just starting to monetize that stuff. So it seemed kind of like a natural progression when we started YouTube. Oh, we should eventually monetize our YouTube channel. Back then, there were no milestones. Anybody could monetize. We had ads running on all of our YouTube videos all through Vancouver, despite being a channel that was only, I don't know, at most a couple thousand.
Less than that, 1,000.
And this was before they had those milestones. You had to hit the number of subs and the watch hour minutes or watch hours or whatever the requirements are. I don't think they existed then. So we could monetize pretty much from the beginning. But I mean, at the size of our channel at that point, it was pointless. Mm-hmm. We probably made 12 cents.
Yeah. And so on our way to leaving Vancouver, we felt like we were ready to kind of start selling t-shirts. We had a couple of t-shirts. Pixel and Lens was just kind of starting. And there were a couple of people, we had some proofs made, and a couple of people were asking for shirts. So we're like, all right, let's make merch. We've got 2,000 subscribers on YouTube.
And Pixel Lens is our photo club if anybody wants to join it.
Yes, I'll leave the link in the show notes as well. So yeah, we were set up and we were ready to go on the merch. During all of this time, we were leading up to leaving Vancouver. You ended up getting your contract cut. And so us going back to St. John's was the plan. So monetizing and dropping the merch line would have made sense because we were staying in Canada. We were going back to Newfoundland. And everything was hunky-dory because that's the way it was supposed to go.
We're going to do a cabin renovation. We're going to have home content on YouTube.
We're going to do a little show. Yeah.
Newfoundland travel series is all the time.
Yeah, that was the juicy plans. But then they all kind of went down the drain when your contract got cut.
Correct. Details on that in the show notes if you guys were curious.
Right. So we ended up, Chris ended up shotgunning applications across the US and Canada to try to find a job, kind of scrambling. Vancouver was coming to an end. We didn't have a job. We were trying to figure out where we were going to go. We couldn't go home because there were no jobs. So
yeah, fellowship was finishing in a few months and our plan just went up in smoke.
Yeah. And it was a pretty devastating end to a really amazing start of a year. But it all worked out, I think.
I think so.
You ended up getting the job in Buffalo, and we ended up leaving Vancouver 2 months later than we were supposed to leave. And so we kind of held off on the t-shirts because we didn't want to be starting a store while we were in limbo for like 4 months because we were in Vancouver and then we had to move home for a month. We got married and then we had to move to Buffalo, and it was just this whole thing. But then we found out that during the process of immigration to America, that the only way that I could make money was through a job that would give me the visa to get me into the country.
You being my wife, despite me being an American citizen, had to stay out of the country for a set amount of time until your permanent residency status was approved.
Correct.
And that could have been 6 months. It could have been a year. So we would have been essentially living apart, which doesn't really make sense. So it worked out because the company that hired me was also looking for a graphic designer / social media person. And it was just a serendipitous event that they're like, oh, well, we'll hire you. And you basically immigrated on a TN visa.
Yeah, which is basically like a work visa.
Yeah.
You get a job, they give you basically the visa, or not, they don't give you the visa, but they give you the paperwork so that you can complete the visa. You meet the requirements to get that specific visa, and then you can move or apply at the border, and then they decide if they let you in. But a lot of people think because Chris is American and we're married that I could just come to America and then that's it. Wrong. So I had to get a job. I got the part-time job, and we had a moving date, and we worked with a lawyer. We got all the paperwork ready, everything that I needed to have in order to state my case at the border to get my visa, because I didn't have a visa going into the States. No, I had all of the paperwork ready.
You had a petition.
I had a petition
for a visa.
But I didn't know if I could actually move to America until the very night we were moving. So we left Newfoundland on November 1st, 4:30 in the morning. I shipped all of my petition and my documents to my friend Christine in Toronto because they wouldn't make it to Newfoundland in time. And we flew to Toronto, drove to her house, picked up the documents, hung out a little bit. And then that entire day was basically like leading up to, am I going to get into America, or am I going to be turned away and going to have to stay in Canada for like a year or however long it takes me to get there? Because they could very well turn me away.
Yeah, they could.
So we drive from Toronto, documents in hand. You know, we got our car documents. We're going to bring our car across the border. I've got my petition. I'm going to bring myself across the border. We get to the border and I say, here are my documents. I have all my stuff. And they're like, oh, no, you don't have anything. Like, you need to come in here and interview, and then we decide if you're going to come into the country. So I'm like, nobody really prepared me for this. This is not what I was told was going to happen. So we get pulled over. We go into this like holding room. You sit down and like they call you up and basically like interrogate you about your entire application. Where are you working? What are you doing now? You're going to be working part-time? What are you going to do for the rest of the time? What does your husband do? Why are you moving to America? Like, do you have kids? Do you have blah, blah, blah? So all of these questions. And then suddenly it was like, they were asking me questions of, well, why are they hiring you, a designer, and why are they hiring you for like social media and video and design? Like, you only have a diploma for design. So why are they hiring you for all this other stuff? Because in order to come and get a job in America, you're supposed to actually have like a degree or diploma or some sort of work and educational experience for that job.
Yeah, they're very big on that.
Very big.
It's like they're very old school in a sense that, you know, they assume that you had to have formal training in an area if you're going to be hired by anybody to do that job, which right. You had almost probably a decade of experience at that point doing all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, I had a business for 10 years. I went to school for 2 years, got a diploma in graphic design, worked in a marketing company for 2 years, then a business for 10 years where I did graphic design, photography, some video work, and social media. And so they were kind of like, like, this isn't a job for one person. Like, nobody does all of this stuff. And I was like, well, actually, it's fucking 2017. Yes, people do all of that stuff. And unfortunately, that's kind of like the way things are going. I've seen that a lot on Twitter where people are applying or looking for jobs and companies want somebody who does web and design and social media. Now you have to have like 2 and 3 degrees to get these jobs and you're getting paid like shit. But anyway, that's a separate thing. So I'm there. And so they're interrogating me about that. Then there's spelling mistakes in my application. We hired somebody to do the application. So there's spelling mistakes. Then my diploma from school doesn't have a matching name as my like passport. So my diploma from school says Becki Peckham, my passport says Rebecca. So
How did
that's
that
an
happen?
issue. I have no idea. I'm like, where, like, the attention to detail is missing.
And then you always you think like, even if you saw that on your diploma, you're thinking, whatever.
It's just like, whatever. Yeah. Because that's my name.
Who's ever, back however many 12 years ago, who you're probably thinking, who's ever going to need to see like my actual name on this?
Yeah.
It's like, that's my name.
And they wanted originals. I had copies. So there were all these things. And then suddenly they're like, oh, so you have a business. So did you shut it down? And I was like, wait, what? They're like, yeah, you're not allowed to make any money from anything except for this job that you
Yeah, but you
applied
knew
for.
that ahead of time.
And I knew that, but it was kind of like, show me proof that your business is closed. Show me proof that your website doesn't exist anymore. Show me proof that you've told your clients that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, my website still exists,
Yeah,
but
well,
I'm just not taking work.
Yeah,
Like,
and so
I'm
I
not
said, like, I have emails where I've told my clients, like, I can't do this anymore. And he was like, so what are you going to do? Like, my application was for a part-time job. So he's like, what are you going to do for the rest of the time? And I was like,
twiddle my thumbs.
hang out. I don't know, spend money in the economy. And he was like,
That's a good answer.
You know that you can't have another job. Like, if you get another job, you have to apply for a second visa. And I was like, this is so much more like confusing and complicated. So anyway, I was shitting myself the entire time. We were in there for like an hour and I was like, they're not going to let me in. They're interrogating me, like all of this shit. And then finally, after a while, they were like, all right, you can come in. So I was scared after that to do anything related to, I mean, I couldn't make money. So I was like, I had to make sure that the ads are turned off on our channel. I can't do any brand partnerships. I can't do any of the things that I had on my list of goals that I wanted to do to like grow this kind of into a business.
Yeah, and then it was also a very gray area because
It was, yeah.
It's like, oh, does, having affiliate links that we've had set up for years, let's say someone bought something from those, like we actually would have to go and scrub every single video of affiliate links. Like, are those considered
Income?
And then, something that you had already set up as, that technically would be passive income, years ago, do you have to remove that? And what about investments? If we had investments, do we have to liquidate everything? Because, so we asked our lawyer all these questions and they just were kind of like, well, we don't really have an answer for you. There's nothing written about this in the law, but I would recommend to do anything in your power to not give them anything that could be a gray area.
Yeah, it's basically don't do anything that could fuck it up for you.
Yeah.
Tread carefully.
Right. So I was like, well, you didn't really give us an answer as to if we should remove all these links, if we should, we weren't really making money on anyway, but I mean, we had so many videos up. It was kind of
It would be so easy for somebody to say, you made like 10 cents off this, therefore you made money, therefore you're deported.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like shit baked. Like the whole time. And people were like, oh, that's like, they'd come to me and they'd be like, oh, can you do work for me? I'm like, no, I can't because of my visa. And they're like, well, that's not true. I'll work, you can work under the table. Like, no,
no, actually I could get deported.
I can get literally deported. Like, no, thanks,
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time because it was about like a year and a half, 2 years that we couldn't monetize. But looking back, I think it was kind of like a blessing because had we, before we moved, with 2,000 subscribers, started a merch line, you can't sell merch to no audience. Yeah, one person, you put in all this work and then you sell one t-shirt. There was no audience there for the merch. So I do want to talk about that a little bit after we take a quick break, but about making sure you have, like, everyone's so bent about having to being able to monetize, but you can't make money if you don't have an audience and you don't have the numbers. But anyway, I think it was a blessing in disguise because it allowed us to spend like that year and a half, 2 years making videos for fun. There was no pressure because nobody was paying us to do it. We could do whatever the fuck we wanted. And it allowed us to kind of like grow our channel and have fun with it.
Grow it the way we want it to grow.
Right.
And before we go off the topic of the whole immigration thing, I mean, what you experienced, I know that you're a very nervous person at baseline.
Yeah.
And that experience was, it's scary when someone's interrogating you essentially and just drilling you with questions because they're trying to see if you trip up and catch you in any traps, whether it be lies or things that are against policy. But I mean, that process that you went through was in fact the easiest way to a green card out of any
100%.
Of the various channels. Like there would be no easier way to get a green card other than having a husband who's a US citizen, other than being born in America, which would essentially get you citizenship.
Right.
That's the shortest path to a green card. So, I mean, I do feel for a lot of the families who we also saw in there, who were there sitting there when we got there and still sitting there when we left.
Yeah.
And maybe didn't even get in that night. I mean, it was
well, that night, the other time we got detained at the border coming across, and when I applied for my green card, you sit there and you're scared and you're nervous and you look around and you're like, shit, like, I have the easiest pathway here and I'm shitting myself. I can't imagine how these other people feel who don't have as easy of a pathway as I had.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. But anyway, that's just an aside.
Yeah. I think the funny thing was with the green card application was like having to prove that you and I have a real relationship.
Oh my God. I guess people like selling green cards through fake relationships is a real thing.
Definitely.
And like try to smuggle people in the country through sham relationships. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, here are some photos of us when we were in high school, when we first started going out.
Yeah, the lawyer was like, I need you to provide like proof that you guys like, share finances, you know, bought a house or rent agreement or whatever, but like also photos of your families together, of you guys together. And so I'm like, all right, break out the albums from like fucking 2005.
Yeah.
Baby Chris and baby Becki just like holding hands, looking like babies, you know?
Oh,
How many times can I say baby? But like
baby.
Legit, like
baby.
Baby. But yeah, it was funny. It was like, okay, well, this is pretty easy, but like, I actually had to be like, here's our blog, here's our house,
here's a YouTube channel.
For
the past year, we've been posting a video every single week.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be an elaborate hoax.
Can you imagine? Fucking 15 years in the making. All right, but like, you should just apply for the fucking visa because you'll get it quicker than.
Are you using me for citizenship? Has this been a 16-year sham? Can you
imagine? Divorce. Reason for divorce. 16-year immigration sham. No, Chris, I am not. I did not know we were moving to America.
No, that's true. That's true. On that note, we'll take a break.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about like the different ways you can make money from YouTube because I feel like it's such a weird thing, especially for those who aren't in the world.
So I think we're going to kind of segue into how people make money on YouTube, because that can be a very weird topic it's something that we kind of just take for granted knowing about. Mm-hmm. But I think the lay public doesn't realize that people on YouTube actually can generate revenue.
Well, I think when people talk about other people monetizing their channel, they just think ads. You make all your money from ads.
Right. And that's actually probably the smallest sliver of the pie, if you will.
Right. So I've got like a list of 5 ways that you can kind of monetize your channel. And the first one is actually like Google ads. So you put ads on your YouTube channel and then you get paid, I guess, a certain amount per view.
It's CPM, click per mil or whatever, which essentially, despite being mil, it means 1,000, 3 zeros. Depending on what niche you're in, you can get different rates. And there's tables online you can look up, but it's not a whole lot of money. It doesn't add up to that much. It's a very, very tiny amount. So most people's revenue, people who do this full time, comes from other things.
Right. And I think when they kind of get up in arms a little bit about like, oh, I need 4,000 subscribers to put ads on my channel.
Is that what it is? 4,000?
I think so. You're not getting paid a lot. Like unless you have a video that goes viral, you're not really going to get paid anything. At 4,000 subscribers. So there's really like not a lot to make a big deal out of. I mean, I guess it is a milestone kind of like anything, but you know, people say like, oh no, I can't monetize, make money. Like you're not going to make money.
Oh yeah.
Then.
That was very controversial because YouTube came out with a minimum subscriber count and a minimum watch hour count or something.
Oh, that's right. They added the watch hours too.
Yeah. So if you don't meet this threshold, then you weren't eligible to put ads on your channel to generate revenue, which a lot of people, I think, were kind of discouraged by that and up in arms about it because for them, they were at one point able to monetize and now they weren't. And they felt that was something taken away from them.
Right.
But I think the issue, realistically, though, anybody who had a channel of that size, it was just like when we were trying to monetize in Vancouver because we thought it was the thing to do, just because everyone did it.
Right.
But, you were making pennies.
Yeah.
Like, literally pennies.
Literally. Looking at the numbers now, I think that we've made this year, and now I think what do we have now? Like 170,000 subscribers. Like the only revenue we basically made is within the last year, and it's like not that much. So you really have, in order to make like a nice, decent revenue off of Google ads on your channel, you either had to be hitting it with fucking viral videos, or you had to be like the size of Peter McKinnon.
Yeah, you when you have obviously bigger channels, far bigger than ours in the million range, that's not an inconsequential amount of money.
Right.
For our channel, though, it's like, oh, this is like a portion of a credit card statement. The amount of money that's sitting there owed to us over the last 3 years is like, it's nothing to balk at, but it's like, it doesn't even cover a credit card bill.
No. It's better than a poke in the eye.
Better than nothing.
Oh yeah.
But
it's not a significant, you can't live off that at all.
No, people aren't living off their ad revenue at channel sizes like ours.
Right. Okay, so the second way you can monetize your YouTube channel is through affiliate links, like Amazon affiliates. I guess if you have like Epidemic Sound affiliates, businesses that will come on board and give you a percentage of sales.
Yeah. And for this, I also think it's a similar thing to ads. It's a very small portion. Mm-hmm. So
unless somebody makes like a big ass order.
Ass order. Yeah, I mean, everything has its ebbs and flows, right. But it, waxes and wanes, but it's not a whole lot of money, generally speaking, for our channel.
Right.
Now, if you were in like the niche of a tech area where you're doing gear reviews and that's your main thing, and people are coming to you because they're actually interested in buying this product, mm-hmm. there's probably a higher chance they're going to buy the product. Where we just put affiliate links for our gear in the description box of all of our videos, I dare say not many people who are watching our videos are like, oh, I wonder what camera they use for this shot. And they go down, find it, click the link and buy it.
Yeah.
So we don't make hardly anything off of our affiliate links. They're there in case someone wants to buy them. And every now and then someone might buy a big ticket item and we might see like $15.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really, at our channel size, it doesn't really add up. Again, people with millions of subs, they probably are making a lot more money mm-hmm. for that because a lot of people are just through sheer volume driving sales.
But then if you take your Google ad revenue plus your affiliate link revenue and add them together, it's looking a lot better.
Yeah, it's just, a little bit more. So that's kind of just one more avenue of revenue. It's one more revenue stream.
Right. And I think it's important going into this kind of thing, if you want to monetize, is to have multiple revenue streams. You can't just rely on one. There has to be multiple. So the third one I have here on my list is like merch sales or like digital products like presets, LUTs, t-shirts,
How do you feel about presets?
I can't. That's a different.
OPP?
I can't talk about presets. Yeah, so merch sales. That's...
Yeah, so hard goods.
Hard goods. So yeah, t-shirts, hats, whatever people put up in the merch world.
Are we talking about our merch?
We're not talking about, we haven't, I don't know. Are we talking about our merch?
Maybe we can just give a little preview since the people who are listening to this are probably the more dedicated listeners.
Right. Okay.
So there may or may not be a merch line coming out.
Small drop, small quantity merch drop, we'll say. So it's not going to be like a full store that's going to be open all the time. It's going to be not limited edition, but limited quantity drops. So stuff that we've designed and kind of used for the most part local people to help craft these products for us.
And also, in order to stay in true Becki and Chris, but mostly Becki style,
what does that mean?
I just mean that you enjoy packaging and you enjoy the whole experience from start to finish.
Including designing everything myself.
You've decided to package everything yourself and hand box everything and hand mail it.
Yes.
Yourself.
Right. We're not using like a drop shipping company. This is all going to be like straight from...
Yeah. And so for the people that aren't aware of how most merch lines work for YouTubers, people generally use a drop shipping company that handles fulfillment. So they handle the production and fulfillment of the order.
And they ship it right from that address. And it would look like it comes from this YouTuber's company, but it actually comes from the warehouse in which the drop shipping is happening.
Right. So basically the YouTuber who you buy the merch from has never seen that shirt that they're sending you, and they've never involved themselves other than submitting a design online and having another company fulfill it.
Now with that,
which is fine. I mean, it's hands off, it's easy, and it's almost like passive income for those people.
I think drop shipping really, really works when you want to have merch available all of the time and you don't want to have a hands-on approach, because running an online store is no joke. That's like a full-time job in itself.
Right. And especially if it gets to a size that's unmanageable.
Definitely. So it makes sense to do drop shipping. For the most part. But for me, because we ran a screen printing studio, which we talked about in episode 1, unfortunately, we have a very discerning eye for quality prints and types of prints and whatever. So we have decided, instead of doing drop shipping, which is what we were going to do originally, that we would instead do limited runs with a local screen printing company that we trust here in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that way you can control, and this also being the first merch drop, we wanted everything to be good. We didn't want to like just chance it with a random fulfillment company and have things go awry on our first go at merch and only have people angry. For this run, we've decided to do it ourselves. And I don't think anyone would fault us for that.
No.
And we'll just say it's packaged with love.
Yeah.
A little bit of love in there.
Little bit of love, little love. Sorry if there's like a hair on the package because I can't control my hair falling out.
Oh, she sheds. There's so many hairs around this
I had a
house.
hair issue. Okay, so merch is the third one. Do you have anything else to add on merch?
I will say though that it doesn't preclude us from using a dropship company in the future if maybe at one point we do want to have full-time merch available.
It's much more sustainable because they deal with returns and exchanges and things. Whereas like for us, we're not going to have returns or exchanges because it's like a drop. Once it's gone, it's not going to be there again until we do another run. So I feel like there's definitely like drop shipping definitely has a lot of perks.
Yeah. For this one anyway, we'll keep it at doing ourselves, and we're probably gonna hate it. So then eventually,
I feel like we had to do it once, and then if it's shit, then
that was hard goods.
Yes.
Or like actual physical products.
Yeah, and then you have digital goods.
Yeah, virtual products.
Yeah.
Which is actually in our space the sort of we're sort of in the photo video tech side of things.
Sort
right?
of.
Yeah.
We're in there. I mean, we don't do reviews.
Right.
But we still do tutorials, and we're very heavy in that.
Yeah. So in that realm of photography and video and film, there comes the entity of presets. So for people who aren't in that area or don't consume a lot of that media, it's basically filters for your photos or video. So LUTs being something called a lookup table, which basically is a filter for your video, or presets for Lightroom to edit your photos, like somebody would, so your photos can look closer to your favorite creators' images. So that people sell their presets. And that's kind of a nice thing for a lot. I mean, we know a lot of creators who sell their presets. We actually don't.
Yeah.
But some people who we know do, and they say that that's a great source of revenue.
Lucrative.
Yeah, because it requires them to create the set, and then it's all passive income. It just sells itself. Really, there's no production involved. There's no cost. We've chosen not to sell our presets at this juncture. All of the ways we edit things, and you've done tutorials about how to grade footage, how to edit your photos. So if anybody wants the Becki Chris look,
you can learn how to do it on our YouTube channel. Okay, so that's merch. So 4 and 5 are kind of like one and the same, but they're different. And if you guys are like starting a YouTube channel or you're curious about like monetizing, I think this is kind of good to talk about. So we've got brand integrations, so like brand partnerships. So like integrations would kind of be like when you integrate a brand or a sponsored thing into your video, but you only talk about it for a portion of the video. So say like we'll take Pete, because Pete is doing these awesome Squarespace ads, he'll do like what I would call like an integration where he does like a 30-second ad for Squarespace, but the video was about something else. And for me, a partnership would be like a dedicated video. So you do like a full video on a thing and then somebody pays you for that entire video. Would you agree with those two?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how most brand sponsored videos work. I mean, it's either they have generally will give you a list of deliverables that they want, and brands are pretty good about letting you have freedom as to how to integrate it. But in the end of the day, all they want is you to integrate it in an authentic way so that it comes off as authentic and your viewers aren't alienated by it, and it doesn't look bad for their product. And of course, it doesn't hurt your channel. But this has always been the age-old dilemma for people who are, in the social media space who have monetized or started making money off of it, is how do I make money off this so I can do this as a job without alienating my viewers? And there's a fine line, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like it's really important when you're looking for brands to work with is to find brands, that you really like, that you would actually use, and ones that you feel like fit with your look, with your brand. So like take, for example, like for us, we don't really have a niche. We kind of fit into like a lot of boxes, but we do like very photo, video, visuals, like heavy. And then it's kind of like helicopter and travel and stuff. So if we did like an ad for health supplements, like it wouldn't work. And people would be like, what the fuck is this? Because it's so left field. It just doesn't work with our brand, and it doesn't work. We would never use health supplements.
And also, like I don't believe in health supplements for the most part.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was just an example, but like you really have to be careful with who you partner with. For example, for us, like we didn't monetize for a long time. And then when we did, we had, not that we had to be careful, but we wanted to be careful about
we're still careful.
We're still careful.
We're still very careful and very selective.
Yeah.
Because at this point we've made a decision, look, the partnerships that we do doesn't dictate whether we have food on the table.
Right.
So we've made a decision up front. Okay, when we're starting to monetize, let's only partner with brands that we would actually use.
Or that we already use.
Yeah, like we've said no to so many partnerships because they just weren't a fit.
I don't think there's anything wrong with doing sponsored content. And, you know, I think more power to you if you're a creator and you can like sign a brand for multiple videos and you can put, you know, 6 months of ads in your video. I think that's awesome. It's guaranteed revenue for that 6 months. For me, I don't want to always make a video that I'm getting paid for and then like have to deliver on a certain date with certain deliverables. Like sometimes I just want to make a video about whatever the fuck I want to make a video about and I want to say fuck. So I don't want, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be tied in all the time to I love doing branded stuff because I love working. It's almost like working with clients on a freelance level, but better, you know, when you're working with brands. So I don't want to monetize every single video in that way.
We've done some partnerships, say recently, for example, with NVIDIA.
This podcast is not sponsored.
This is not sponsored, but yeah. I use the full name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they basically have a killer graphics card in their laptop that's geared towards people who create like us. You know, funny enough, I was chirping you over multiple videos leading up to this.
For multiple years.
To say, Becki, get a PC, get a PC. And then all of a sudden, Becki, you've always been like, you get a PC. It's like, well, I don't really have a computer at this point. I'm just going to share a computer with you.
Yeah.
But then lo and behold, NVIDIA came in and was just like, oh, hey, you know, we can give you this laptop.
And you were like, a PC of my own? Oh my God.
With
so
a graphics card that can, that I can game
You're like, I'm
on.
Becki, I'm platform agnostic.
That's actually what I said. That's true. I am
It's
platform
true. Yeah,
agnostic.
you are.
So I don't, Mac, PC, whatever. I think
You
both,
don't give a shit.
they're just tools.
Yeah.
Like you. Oh, burn.
I'll go fuck
Roasted,
yourself.
Roasted.
You piece of shit. The amount of times I call you a piece of shit, like weekly, like reason for divorce. Called me a piece of shit 10 times this week.
Saw me poop on a rock and then called me a piece of shit.
I didn't call you a piece of shit after I saw you poop. I gagged.
You did. You gagged.
But I have no regrets.
Yeah. Anyway, nonetheless, back to the topic.
Yeah. So back to the brands.
Yeah. So that was a good fit. It's
Yeah.
something that we've had even like almost like we led up to it in multiple videos.
By accident.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a great fit. We did one with Sony.
Yeah.
Where
great fit.
Yeah, you were talking about, you know, you had one of their cameras already that you're using for. It's like, man, this would be a great intro vlogger camera. And we always do stuff like that, you know, what's in our kit and recommendations for people who are starting channels. So that was a natural fit for us as well.
Definitely.
But like you said, we're not going to do a health supplements ad because
it's just not a fit.
Yeah. And I think also getting back to kind of how we started off, you know, this was always just kind of like a little hobby and a side project. So the need to monetize wasn't really there to, you know, like I said, put food on the table. So I think that we're in a very, very, very lucky position so that we can say no to whatever we want. We could go a whole year without monetizing anything.
Right.
And it probably wouldn't appreciably change a lot.
Our monetizations pay for my camera addiction.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, and again, creating a YouTube channel, it's not free. You need gear.
Yeah. And that's the nice thing too about being able to monetize and making money from your YouTube channel. It's like, okay, suddenly your camera breaks and you need a new piece of gear. Well, now I have this business where I can buy this gear with the money I'm making from my YouTube channel and then also like write it off or depreciate it over a certain amount of years through my business as a business expense.
Right. It's everything that you would otherwise have to buy is now a business expense. And that's no different than what we were used to doing when you ran Bold Creative up north of the border.
Right.
I mean, you had that company for 10 years. So we were used to writing off camera equipment for 10 years. Then all of a sudden we came to the US and now all of a sudden we're paying out of pocket post-tax dollars for all of our gear.
And I was crying silently and
it hurt.
It did hurt. But now we don't have to do that because we've monetized.
Yeah. So we're back to our original upbringing.
Yeah. So it is weird because it's like, it's this big change and you're making the money and then, you know, the expenses of the year. But it does make sense if you do start a business a legit way. Business expense, like a new computer if you need it. Like, it's obviously you still have to pay for it, but it does help you at the end of the year with taxes. People sometimes think too, like, oh, I can buy this camera and just write it off. It's like a free camera, but it's not. You still have to pay for it. Yeah,
I think people who don't, or who have never owned a business or who have never been in a business like that, they think that writing something, oh, I can write this off. Oh, don't worry about it. You can write it off. Or people say that. It's like, yeah, you are writing it off, but that's just reducing your taxable income. You're not actually gaining anything for free.
Right.
It's just you don't have to pay tax on the income that you're using that you bought this with.
Okay, so we talked about monetization. We talked about having to have a certain amount of numbers to make the money with, for brands to want to work with you, but then also for the affiliate links. But how do you actually grow your channel? Let's talk about that. How do you actually grow your social media to the point where you can make money and make enough money to like put food on the table? Okay, well, I have a couple of tips that I wrote down. We'll have a discussion. Okay, so first tip I would say would be like find your voice and figure out what you're good at and then develop a brand around that. So for us, like I knew we liked photography, we liked design.
And I like helicopters.
Well, you liked helicopters, but that kind of came a little bit later.
And
but
drones.
The foundation of our, and drones. We know you love drones.
And sleeping.
By looking around at this desk and there's drone shit everywhere.
Hey, look, this is my drone factory for now.
We're going to change that. I'm going to build you dope ass fucking drone factory.
Drone factory.
So yeah, so for us, it was like, I think we're like pretty good at like this thing. But now we need to figure out like, what's the delivery? Like, what's the voice? And for us, it's just like, let's be ourselves and be our weird ass selves. If I'm going to fucking swear, I'm going to swear and people don't like it. Well, too bad. So we've kind of like developed a thing around that. And then it's, we're consistent. So that's like tip number 2 is being consistent and working hard. And so I think that we were consistent with our video uploads while still trying to like progress and get better.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, mostly like I feel like on Twitter who will say like, oh, I haven't been grown since blah, 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 or my channel's stuck at whatever. Mm-hmm. And you click on the channel and the last upload was like 3 months ago.
Yeah, your channel's not going to grow if you don't upload.
It's like, dude,
often.
we've been uploading once every week for 3 years and we still feel like we're lost in the noise because there's so many uploads. Mm-hmm. Can you really honestly truly believe that your channel is going to grow if you're uploading once every 3 months?
Yeah.
How much video goes up on YouTube every day?
Oh, I have no idea, but a lot.
Yeah. Like it's way above real time. Like every second that goes by, there's, hours of video that get uploaded. Mm-hmm. So how do you expect to pop up out of the noise when you're only uploading once every 3 months?
Yeah. It just doesn't work like that. So unfortunately, if you want to be, same with even Instagram, like you had to show up. You have to show up and you have to interact with your people. People are taking their time out of the day to like comment on your shit. Mm-hmm. Like you have to take time in your day to comment back or whatever. And it gets weird when your channel starts to grow large because the amount of interactions grows significantly. And so if you say I'm gonna respond to everything, then you don't have time to make videos anymore.
You will literally be responding to comments all day.
All day.
Which is not I don't want it to sound like, oh, boo-hoo us, people are commenting on us. It's.
I know, I love that. I'd love to interact with every single person.
It's just that not feasible to do that.
But when you're starting off, well, I think even as you grow, it's still important to interact with them. But if you're starting off, like you really need to interact with people and interacting with also people who are similar size, similar niche, you're doing similar things.
Yeah.
It's like, that's my next thing. It's like finding people who are a similar size with similar interests and like working with them. So instead of being like, hey, Casey Neistat, you have 10 million subscribers and I have 500 subscribers. Do you want to collab with me?
Of course he's not going to want to collab.
No. What's in it for him?
Of course he's not even going to see your message.
No, because he's getting bombarded with like thousands of messages, I'm sure, a day. So find people who are 500 subscribers like you or 1,000 subscribers like you or who are into the same stuff.
Yeah. Or how about just don't worry about the subscriber count and just
do shit.
Have fun, because at this stage, if your only goal is to grow your channel, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think too, like people talk about collaborations. I think collaborations are really important. If you're going to reach out to somebody for collaboration, I think I think you should be reaching out to people who are like within the same size, which we already talked about. 2, you can't just say, do you want to collaborate? You need to come up with an idea. What is the value for both parties? Like, what are you offering them and what can they offer you? You can't just be like, hey, can you come on my channel or give me a shout out? Like, it doesn't work like that.
Back when we were in Vancouver, I think we were talking to Brad Friesen about this.
Yeah.
And he had so many people that would just hit him up because they wanted free helicopter rides. Mm-hmm. And I get it now because we have the same, we get the same DMs.
Right.
And he laid it out bluntly. Like, he's a pretty like blunt guy when it comes to those things. And he was just like, look, I have a budget, which I've allotted myself X number of hours to fly per year. Mm-hmm. Why would I just take you up randomly when I don't know you and use X% of my budgeted hours just flying you around?
Right.
YouTube channel or not, what's your, like, what do you have to bring to the table? What do you want to do?
Besides like taking my time and basically my money.
Correct. Because in helicopters, time equals money.
Is money, yeah.
And so like, you're basically, why do you want my money? Tell me what I'm getting out of this in this transaction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I try to move away from looking at everything as transactions, but in that case,
you really have to look at it as a transaction because it does make a huge difference. You give somebody an hour of your time who you don't know. That's an hour of time that you can't take your mother up in the helicopter or your friend or a coworker.
Yeah, exactly.
There has to be value, and that's with
Brad,
everything.
I get it.
Yes. Okay, so moving away from that, my last thing would be like, be patient, because people expect it to happen. Oh, I've been posting for 3 months straight. Where's the growth? It took us 2.5 years to get to 5,000 subscribers. 2.5 years.
Yeah. 5,000
subscribers was a milestone that I celebrated and I was excited for.
Mm-hmm.
But at no point within that 2 years was I like, oh, I think I'm going to stop posting YouTube videos because I'm not getting subscribers.
Right, because we were doing it from the get-go because it was basically a diary of our life.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we're like, wow, we're going to have a whole catalog full of these little tiny movies that our kids, our grandkids could watch and say, oh, what were mom and dad up to in 2017?
Exactly. So, I like, just be patient with it. Like,
kids are gonna be like, we don't give a shit about your YouTube channel, parents.
These videos are fucking shit.
Yeah,
that's what they're gonna be like.
All right, mom and dad, you're washed up. Yep, we get it.
Yeah.
Shut up about the YouTube channel.
Yeah, nobody cares. Okay, Chris, we're gonna introduce a new segment to this podcast called That's Freaking Deadly.
What's deadly?
Your face.
Thank you.
Is
that your item? Is that what you're sharing in my
yeah,
face?
My thing that's deadly is your face. No, okay.
I'm sharing my husband's face today.
So we're going to introduce a couple of different segments in this podcast. This is the first one called That's Friggin' Deadly, where we share something that we really like or that we're really into at the moment. So I'm going to share my thing first, and then you can share yours.
Okay.
This is not sponsored, but I am a part of like a coffee subscription where I pay like a certain amount per month, and the company, I think it's called Trade, sends me a bag of coffee like that. I can go and check on the internet of like what's coming next, but I choose not to. Beans show up in my mailbox. Bean juice. So when I like never run out of coffee.
That's excellent. That's perfect for you.
It's fantastic.
You've always run out of beans, and then you're like, oh, I gotta go to the bean store.
Yeah, gotta go to that bean store.
AKA the coffee shop.
Excuse me, Chris. I'll be right back. I go to the bean store. Sometimes you just don't want to get in the car because I'm a lazy piece of shit.
This is the Amazon generation that we live in.
I know, but I'm afraid to order beans on Amazon. You don't know what's in there.
I mean, you don't know what's coming from your coffee club.
No, I do, because that's like a legit coffee club. Anyway, so actually I heard about it from Craig Adams. I think he was like sponsored by these people. So I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I like did it.
Oh, so you converted from his ad.
I did.
There you go.
Oh my God, yeah, I did.
Full circle.
I was influenced by Craig Adams, YouTuber, hiker.
There you go.
Whatever.
He's got some great content.
His content is fantastic.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know who we're talking about, you should check him out, Craig Adams on YouTube.
So what's deadly for me is Fpv Drones.
I'm not surprised that you said that.
And I could talk on this topic for a long time.
Please
but I'll give you a quick synopsis. FPV stands for first person view. And they're basically drones that you build yourself. And they have little cameras on them, and they beam the they beam the image back to your little goggles, and you have a remote controller, and you just fly the drone through the goggles.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty
of
sick.
course, in order to comply with FAA, we have to have a visual observer on the ground who is maintaining line of sight at all times. But yeah, FPV drones, I've been really into it. So we've made a couple of videos on our YouTube channel about them because they can give these really interesting vantage points that you literally couldn't get with any other device.
Right.
I mean, they're probably most like helicopter aerial footage with the bank turns and things like that, but you can fly them in tight little spaces, so you can shoot through little tiny gaps that obviously you couldn't do in a helicopter. So they really are. It's created this new genre of filming.
Mm-hmm.
You've
been obsessed. You've been like really into the FPV
well,
lately.
It allows me to get air, because interestingly enough, and not getting too into this, but the thing that got me into helicopters was the thought of being able to capture these amazing shots of this first person views with cameras that are nose mounted on the helicopter. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was a kid, I saw this video in music class of all classes of these sweeping shots going across, following a river. And I was like, oh my God, that's the most amazing feeling ever. And I love the way that video made me feel as a kid.
It's so cute.
And I've been chasing that with helicopters. Unfortunately,
Oh my God, that's why you're always like bombing riverbeds and shit.
yeah,
like that.
unfortunately, that's the most dangerous way to fly is flying low, flying fast. Nap of the earth style flying, Vietnam style. It's exhilarating. But I feel like FPV drones allow me to take that a step further and just do insane stuff with a camera that obviously I wouldn't do with a helicopter that I'm on.
Yeah.
And when, if and when you crash, it's a small little drone, not expensive helicopter and death. Yeah. So in conclusion, FPV drones, they're deadly.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, we're coming up on the time. So
The tuxedo time?
Well,
we're your tuxedos and it is time.
It's already tuxedo time, but I'm getting a little thirsty.
All right. Well, we should go eat something and we will see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening.